Hey, what's up guys? It's Pedro here from NoobCoder.com, and in this tutorial I want to talk about the switch statement. So the switch statement is just another way of writing conditionals basically. So our else if, and else statements. So to give an example, I'm going to give a short example with the conditionals we know, and then I'm going to translate those statements into a switch statement. So I'm just going to declare a variable called user input, and I'm going to assign that the value of 1. Now, basically the program I'm writing is, if the user input is 1, it displays January. So it will correspond to the month. So the user puts 2 is going to print out February. So if I say if user input is equal to 1, print out January. Next, if user input is equal to 2, February. And then etc. So you would just keep going on and do all that. So I'm not going to write all of that. So my last statement will be invalid input. So if you want to actually write this program out yourself, you would just keep adding else if statements, and if the user input is 3, print out what you want. So this is pretty straightforward. So the user inputs 1, and I output January. So now I want to change this into a switch statement. So it goes like this. I have to type switch. I need to pass in user input, followed by these brackets. So now what? Well, switch statements work by cases. So I could say case 1, I could do sysout January. So that's basically our if statement in the form of a case. Now, this is not going to work as expected, but I'm going to purposely leave it like this so I can show you why it doesn't work. So if the user inputs 2, February, and I keep butchering February because I have no idea how to spell it. And now, just like in our conditionals, we have the else statement, and the else statement only gets executed if everything is false. On our switch statement, we have something called the default case. Now, the default case is exactly like the else statement. So something went wrong, or the user inputted something wrong. So it will be invalid input. So default is basically our else statement. This will only execute if these two cases fail. So I'm just going to comment this out. So control/S. So I have my user input is 1, and let's run this. Okay, something definitely did go wrong. So what happened, right? When we were using the conditionals we're familiar with, the if statement checked to see if this condition evaluated to true and just outputted this onto the console. But in this case, user input is 1, so case 1, this gets printed out, but then you have all these other conditions running, right? Because we get January, February, and something is wrong. So to remedy that, we had to add a new keyword, and this keyword is called break. So break just says, hey, execute these lines of code, and this could be multiple lines. So if I wanted to print out January 2 times, just to give you an example that you could do as many lines as you want, I could do that, hit the run button, and you see that we get January, exactly how we expect it to work. So you need to add this break keyword. Now, I do want to go more into break, but basically what break does is it kicks you out of whatever you're inside. So in this case, I'm inside the switch statement. I'm within these two braces. So when user input gets compared to 1, this code gets executed, and then it hits break, and break says, hey, get me out of this switch statement. So it kicks me out of the switch, and then you just execute the rest of your code underneath. So you might be wondering why I do not put a break statement underneath default, and the reason is because there's no reason to. Because default is literally the last statement. It's what is executed if both of these cases turn out to be false. So if user was, let's say 3, since we don't have a case 3, I could hit run, and you see we get something's wrong. So default is exactly like the else, and these cases are exactly like the if and else if. So if user input is 1, execute this, and then break me out. And then if user input is 2, execute this code, and then break me out of the switch statement. So that is just another way of doing things, and I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial. Like, comment, subscribe.